look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life.
Hey, Jerry, how you doing today?
Doing great. I'm looking on the positive. It's the right side. How you doing, Janie?
I'm fabulous. I like laughter. I'm on the light side.
Hey, you know what that means?
I think that means we're always looking on the bright side of life.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life.
I'm so excited. The show is about to begin.
So am I, with my straw hat and cane.
I got my tap shoes on. We're ready to go.
Come on, everybody. It's time for the show.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we unfortunately lost Janie just as the show started, so I give you now the co-host, Mr. Jerry Marino. Jerry, you're going to have to take over. Go ahead. No mic, Jerry.
How about now?
That's it.
Welcome to another edition of On the Bright Side with Janie and Jerry. I'm Jerry, and I'm not Janie. Well, we have a great show for tonight. Hopefully we'll get Janie on in a couple of seconds. You know how Skype is. But I just want to give you a few things. We celebrated my granddaughter's birthday. She reached 9 years old, Brianna, or as we call her, Abby. And if you know me, you can go on Facebook and you can see a picture of me I posted today. It says Papa, Abby, and Sage. She calls Sage my great-granddaughter. It's a doll. And so is she. And we also came back in July from the National Federation of the Blind Convention in Orlando, and that was a great, great, great time we had. It rained, and it was hot. So we actually stayed and went to some of the convention. No, all seriousness aside, we did have a great time, great speeches. I picked up a couple of new toys. I picked up the new Victor Reader, which is smaller and lighter and has Wi-Fi capability that they're building. And for those that don't know, Victor Reader is a way that blind or visually impaired people can access books from the National Library or Audible books or books that on MP3 and music and podcasts. As a matter of fact, if you so desire and you have a Victor Reader or any other kind of podcast catcher, you can sign up on iTunes and many various and sundry ways of getting a podcast. Our phone number to call in is 1-888-572-0141. That's 1-888-572-0141. Please call and with a question, maybe an answer, maybe a pledge, a few bucks, whatever you like. We can take it. So I don't know what else to do except to say
no luck with Janie yet, Jerry. She's we asked her to reboot her computer, so we can go to commercial if you like, and hopefully we'll get it back by that time.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to a commercial as we just heard, and after that we have, let me tell you this, a very special guest all the way from California, and an award-winning author. And I want to tell you, I just read one of her books, and it was great. And I'm looking forward to more. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 2-minute break. That's 120 seconds, if I count right. And we'll be right back, so don't go away.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life.
Climb the tallest mountains. Win a television game show. Sure, we are blind, but we're changing what it means to be blind. The National Federation of the Blind, 410-659-9314. How would you feel if your children went to school and weren't taught to read? What would the future hold for them? Today, a mere 10% of blind children are taught to read Braille. Literacy is a basic right, and with it, a blind person can become just about anything. With Braille, a blind person can read at the same rate as a sighted person. This opens doors to unlimited potential. Learning to read Braille is the key to success. Without it, a blind child doesn't have a chance. For more information on Braille literacy and blindness, please visit our website at www.nfb.org or contact me, Mark Maurer, President, National Federation of the Blind, 1800 Johnson Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230, or call us at 410-659-9314. The National Federation of the Blind. We are the voice of the nation's blind.
Hi, this is Joe Ruffalo at WTOE Radio. If you'd like to know more about our state affiliate, the National Federation of the Blind, you may call myself at 973-743-0075. We're here to help you.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life.
Welcome back to the show. And now, here's Janie.
Well, it's not Janie. We're looking at Jerry. So, Jerry, continue. We're having a problem with Janie here.
Here's Jerry, and here I am. Well, thank you all for continuing to listen to us, or those that have just tuned in. Let me give that phone number out again. It's 1-888-572-0141. That's 1-888-572-0141. Tonight's show, and we're hoping to get Janie back. We do apologize for the Skyping out on us, but we should get her back shortly. But without further delay, I want to introduce to you an Edgar Allan Poe Award winning author. You know, Edgar Allan Poe never won that award, you know. And from the Getting Old is Murder, or Getting Old, she'll have to correct me on that. From California, Rita Lakin. Rita, how are you tonight?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine.
Oh, very good. And I know Janie is chomping at the bit because we were both looking forward. But as we mentioned to you before, she's a voracious reader. She'll read, 10, 11, 12 books in a month. And I'm, fortunate if I get through one or two books or three at the most. And usually they're, little short ones. But as we usually do, before we start talking about your books and and authoring, could if someone came up to you and said, who is as we say in New Jersey, who is Rita Lakin? Could you just give us a couple of minutes of short biography?
Well, first of all, it's Lakin.
Lakin. I'm sorry.
That's
North Carolina
really
accent.
funny because it's a very simple name. But I've been called anything from Lukin to Larkin to Lakin to Lukin to even Lincoln. So I used to teach elementary school 100 years ago, and the kids used to call me Mrs. Lincoln. And somebody asked me how my age was. It was really one of those silly situations. But anyway, I'm an East Coast person. I grew up in the Bronx. And I still love New York, though I don't live there anymore. I live close to San Francisco. And I know all of you are back east, and I quite often I wish I was there. But what would you like to know about the book, Getting Old is a Murder, or more about myself?
Well, if you could just give us a short, maybe just a couple of minutes of where you were and how you came up to writing, and then all of a sudden you decided that you wanted to write a book. Did someone encourage you, or did did you publish something? Did you do something on your own, and then went from there with it, or how did that
Well,
lead up?
it's a very, very long story, but I'll make it short. Um, I when I as I said, I started out as a school teacher, but then when my husband got a job in Los Angeles, we went all the way out there, and there we were in the home of Hollywood, and I always wanted to write, so I thought, well, since I'm near Hollywood, I should probably think about working for television or movies. So I decided, well, what I should do is learn about this business. Because the first time I ever wrote a script, I even wrote all the commercials because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. Everybody thought that was so silly. But what I did is I got a job as a secretary at Universal Studios. And from there on, I taught myself how to write scripts, and then I started writing scripts. And so for 25 years, that's what I did. I worked on practically every TV show imaginable. So I didn't get to answer your question, I didn't get to write novels until I was past 60 in age, because I had been in Hollywood the whole time. In fact, what I've been doing recently is writing a memoir of those early years in television, because I had no idea that I was one of the first women writers in television. I just had no idea at all. It was a man's world, and women were not there. So I've had a lot of very interesting adventures all those years, which I'm just about finishing writing about.
So Rita, what would you say? Just staying with the television, what would you say your favorite show to write for was?
Oh, it's like asking a mother, which is your favorite child?
Oh.
You know how that is. I had a lot of fun writing for a lot of them, and I guess you remember certain ones because they were the first. And the first job I ever had was for a show called Dr. Kildare. Now, I'm sure, I don't know how many people in the audience go that far back, but it was my first job, and I was very excited. I had been the secretary, and I was sitting there reading every script I could get my hands on so I could teach myself how to write a script. And the thing about it is very interesting that one of the characters was a very little boy, and he became very, very famous. Ronnie Howard is now one of the biggest names in Hollywood as a producer and director and everything else. And I met him when he was 8 years old, playing the son in my script. And the other thing that was so wonderful about that experience is that since it was my very first job, the director of the show was his very first job also. And he was a man named Sidney Pollack. And I think most of you all know how famous he became over the years. All the things he directed and acted in.
Wow.
I think my favorite is Tootsie. I think it's probably
Yeah.
his movies. That was my favorite. So that was a great start to have had two such wonderful people attached to the show. So I've called that one of my favorites.
Did you get a chance to meet the cast, like Richard Chamberlain and?
Well, in those days, A, not only were women not expected to be anywhere around there, and B, in those days you were not allowed on the sets. And one of my very funny experiences was that since it was the first thing I ever did, I wanted so badly to see the cast and see what they're doing. So I snuck in onto the set, and I was terrified. I mean, I had no idea. I tried to be very quiet so they wouldn't throw me off. And then suddenly Richard Chamberlain was about to do a scene with, I'm going to have senior moments on this show, I can tell already. The older doctor on the show, say Raymond Massey, it might have been him. And he suddenly threw my script on the floor and said, "Who wrote this thing?" And he said, "That's terrible." And I was so horrified and so frightened that I ran off the set and got stand on the street in front and just cried my eyes out. But of course, years later, when I met Richard Chamberlain, actually in a plane, we were both waiting for a plane to New York, and I told him who I was, and it was amazing. It was like 30 years later, and Chamberlain said, "I remember that script. It was wonderful." I said, "Well, your fellow actor didn't like it," and he said, "Oh, Raymond, I didn't like anything." So it was one of the wonderful experiences. But that was probably my favorite because I started.
Wow.
I did a lot of other
Jerry,
things.
we have Janie on the line, on phone
And I would
line.
like to introduce.
Yes,
I would
I'm
like to
here. After all that
introduce-
Skype work, my Skype, as we call it in the business with the professional words, crapped out. And so now I'm on the phone after doing everybody else's Skypes and stuff. Oh, well.
I was
Take it
the
away,
one
Jane.
having trouble yesterday
I know.
with Skype.
You never know with Skype, but I did hear the last story about Dr. Kildare and sneaking on the set. That's something Jerry and I would do. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yes. So Janie, we talked a little bit about early life and
Good.
TV shows, and maybe you'd like to take it from there. How she went from script writing to authoring.
Very good. So, as Jerry said, how did you take it? No. When did you flip that switch from script writing? And I know you wrote some miniseries, and I know that you still have something traveling around Broadway or off Broadway somewhere. And that was, I forget the title of that, but it didn't have the Berkshires in it. It had some other.
That was in the Catskill Mountains. It was
Yes.
something I wrote with a number of other people called Saturday Night at Grossinger's, which
That's
was
it.
a celebration of the very early days of this hotel in the Catskill Mountains, and this amazing woman, Jenny Grossinger, who started it. I really had the great luck to be able, all through my career, to write about a lot of women in television, on television. And the time I then did a script for the stage, it was also about a woman. So so that's really what my memoir is about. It's about all the women I met who started out in television, and all the women I got to write about in television.
Well,
I would
that's
say,
just
even
great.
though it was a man's world, I met a lot of wonderful men in television who let me write the kind of things I wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to answer your question, once I actually retired after 25 years and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scripts, I moved up from Los Angeles to the San Francisco area and said, "Gee, I always really wanted to write novels. I got sidetracked." And that's when I decided to write my first novel. And
so,
that's a funny thing in itself as to why I chose to write that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I still on?
And so,
Anyway, I when you write a novel, it takes a long time to do this. So you don't want to commit yourself to something unless it's something that you're interested in writing about and will keep you interested, and there's enough you want to say about it. So I thought that all the years I did television, the one thing I really wanted to write was comedy. And the only time I ever did get a chance to write it was on one particular show called Flamingo Road, where I was doing a satire on the South. And so I thought I wanted to do a comedy. And then I thought, well, I really would like to do a book that might sell. So I decided I wanted to do a mystery. I mean, these are the things that writers go through, to the decisions to make before they sit down and touch their computer. And then I thought of myself that I always wanted to write a Valentine to my mother, and felt I really would like to have done that for her. So I thought back to the years when my mother and my father and my aunts and my uncles And everybody left New York and Boston and Brooklyn and the Bronx and all the places everybody lived in. And they all moved down to Florida and retired there. And they lived at this one great big condominium. And I used to say to myself, God, my mother, my Aunt Anne, and my Aunt Rose all living in the same place. I hope they don't kill each other. But I used to come down there every single year and visit. And every time I did, I just thought to myself, this is the funniest place I've ever been in my life. Florida is a character. Florida is a crazy, crazy place. And when you think about it, there are at least 17 active writers who write about Florida. And they all write some pretty funny things because Florida is a character. So I knew I wanted to write about my mother. I knew I wanted to write about her life in Florida. And so finally I thought to myself, well, you know, I really would like to write about my mother as she is now, which at that time she was in her 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before I got to be 60. I didn't get to write about her until I was 60, but at the time I was seeing her, at first she was in her 60s. And she and her sisters and their friends all kind of formed their own kind of family units. But they were hilariously funny. They didn't know they were funny. I would say to my mother, Mom, you're living here 20 years and the beach is 15 minutes away by car. Why don't you go to the beach? And she would say, are you crazy? And get sand in the rug? And of course, the notorious early bird specials. I mean, when I went there, I had to learn to eat dinner at 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
At 5 o'clock, there was no food left in the restaurant. You had to get there early. And little by little, the characters all just spoke to me. They all the people living in the condo, they were just hilariously funny characters. And in each of the books I wrote, each of every one of the 7 books, the murder is something that only could take place in Florida, because it's such a crazy place. Like, I'll give you one example. Like in one of the books, there was a notorious bank robber called the Grandpa Robber. And he robbed banks one after another, and nobody could catch him. Nobody had an idea who he was or anything. And all they knew is that he had gray hair. So one of the novels is about how my mother and her friends who sought their own little agency, they become private eyes, and how they find the Grandpa Bandit. And each book has a story like that.
And so I want to ask you, so I'm assuming that your mother is Gladys, and your Aunt Anne is Evie?
Evie, my Aunt Anne is Evie.
Okay.
And High and Low, as I named them for jokes.
Right.
When they played cards, when they would lie to one another and cheat and say things like, how is High today? And one of them wanted you to throw a high card out.
Yes.
They loved the cheated cards, all of them. And anyway, my uncle and my aunt, and then there were other characters there. And High, who tells all these terrible jokes, was really my Uncle High. But I think my family forgave me because High was a much nicer person than the way I was treating him in the book.
Yeah. But, well, I know that we've used your books multiple times for book clubs, as you know, and for the listening audience. I'm sorry I wasn't on in the very beginning, but Rita, I sent an email to Rita, and the same night we were having our senior division book club meeting of Getting Old is Murder was the book we read. I just happened to fancy on her website, and I saw it, and I sent her an email. And within an hour, she writes back, I can be on that call. I'm like, you're kidding. I was so excited. I was jumping up and down. I called my brother Joe, and I'm like, I hope we have several people on this call, and we did. And when Rita called in, you know, when you call on a conference call, you say, click, say who you are. And she said, Rita Lakin. And I thought the group was going to jump. They couldn't believe it. And it was so kind of you to do that for us. And we started this bond and lineage and back and forth, and it was good. So you didn't know what you started when you started joining with Janie, I'm telling you. But it's terrific that you're on the show, and we just needed to tell you publicly how wonderful your books are and how important it is to get the word out that you can still be silly and goofy like kids, even if you're seniors. In fact, more often than not, you are goofy and silly as a senior, and you don't even realize it. And when you do, thank God, you laugh at yourself. I need to eat. I have a mother-in-law like that. I have to eat at 4:30. It's 20 to 3. I'm like, I know, we have an hour and a half. I don't want to be late. The girls are waiting for me. I'm like, we're 10 minutes from home. We'll be there, you know. So I just wanted to publicly thank you. And also, I was hoping that...
all the adventures down there were very funny. My silly phone's going. So ignore my phone. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? So,
barely. There's a big phone in the background.
it'll stop.
I heard that, Janie.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to turn my phone
Well,
on.
I have a question,
Yes.
Janie.
Yes.
Rita, if someone wanted to read, the series Getting Old Is, I would assume they would start with Getting Old Is Murder. Now, do you
Yeah,
have to
right.
follow a certain?
Yes. Want me to tell it to you?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Janie.
Okay, so it's Getting Old is Murder. Let me see if I get it right. Getting Old is the Best Revenge. Getting Old is Criminal. Getting Old is To Die For. Getting Old is a Disaster. Getting Old is Très Dangereux. And Getting Old Can Kill You.
And one should read it in that order.
All right.
Hey,
Janie?
Not many people can do that. Sometimes I can't either.
Well, I wish it was a Jeopardy question. I would run that category.
But what I was asking is, would you recommend reading it in that order?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
Okay, good. So I'll listen to the
I would
podcast so I
only-
could hear it again, and then I'll.
Oh.
The reason I to read it in order, you don't have to because all series are done in a way that you can buy any one and read them out of order. It doesn't matter. But the reason I like it in order is because the characters grow so much book by book, and things change, and I think that people will enjoy the books even more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
And
Janie,
I wanted
are
to
all the
ask
books
you,
on
Rita, how did you feel when we did the book club? We, of course, I do the digital book, Jerry, the book player, and I bookmark certain things, and Rita was astonished at listening to it. And then it became a project of mine to make sure she got a book player and listen to her books on audio digital for the first time. So I wanted to ask you about that a little bit, Rita. What did you feel like when you heard your books?
It's wonderful. It brought it all back to me again, and of course, being a typical writer, I say, "Oh my goodness, I could have done that line better," or I could have written it better. So it's a mixed bag, but it was very exciting hearing it. It really was.
Good.
I'm not through all
Janie-
of them yet.
Janie, are all the books in the series on the National Library site?
All of her 7 books are on the National Library Service. That's right. You can
Right.
go to Bard and download them all. And if you don't remember the order, you can email me, and I'll be happy to send you the order. Or just look at the date. Starts at 2005, 6, 7, like that, and just look, and then you'll know how to read them in order.
Or Jeannie, I'll send you a load of bookmarks that have the pictures in order.
Sounds great. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
I will. I'll
Good.
send them.
Great.
You can give them out.
I will. I'm your best East Coast person here, boy.
Well, you remember I'm an East Coast person at heart.
I do remember that. Yeah. So when you do some of the books, you add characters as you go along. Like, the Canadian people are in the very beginning, but later on, there's a couple of characters that come into the book, and of course, some people that die and whatever. How did you decide how to add those characters?
Well, it was based on the story I wanted to tell,
Mm-hmm.
and what's so interesting to me is almost every one of those stories are based on real life stories that I knew of, that I put into the book. So part one was the story that I was doing was actually based on a true story or something similar to one. And part two of it, the crime is something that was indigenous to Florida. That practically these crimes never happened anyplace else except Florida. And then
so some of the things go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then the fun of it is that these older women attempting to be private eyes, it was a way to poke fun at private eye books. For example, when my girls have to go on a car chase, well, they can only go 35 miles an hour in their car. So it makes it a little difficult.
As soon as they can start the car because their keys aren't somewhere else.
We've done that one too, where you forget your keys and lock them in the car. We have that in one of the books. Everything that can happen to you as an older person happens in these books, believe me.
Yeah. I especially like when you have some of the characters using their equipment, and you would think it would be, guns and handcuffs and things like that, and they're getting their walker and their cane and the plunger and all kinds. And you could just visualize seniors doing things. Hurry up, we got to get them.
That was my first classic chase. There was actually a chase in almost every book. And of course, the chases are hilarious because it's exactly that. They're in wheelchairs and walkers and canes and stuff. And they're running as fast as they can.
Right.
Janie?
Yes.
Janie, time
Hello?
for a break.
Should I keep talking? I can always keep talking.
Hold on one second. What, Jerry?
Time for a break.
It's time to go to break. It must be close to 8:30. So you completed part one, and for those people that are listening or viewing us, we have a 4-minute break. So you can do what you need to do and hurry back because we have a memory lane and a little video clip and then more with Rita Lakin. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere too far. We'll be back in just 4 minutes.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life.
Nothing inspires imagination like reading, and it's never too early to start reading to your children. When you open a book, you can explore new worlds like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Everything you see is Narnia.
Impossible.
You can make new friends, discover amazing adventures, and most of all, have fun.
Are you prepared for what awaits you?
To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov. There, you can learn more about books, play fun games, discover cool facts, and so much more. You can log on to www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Janine Marks, a 12-year-old, was fairly normal. She spent a lot of time online. One day, she met a new friend. The new friend had the same problems at home. They liked the same bands. They worried about the same subjects in school. They promised to keep each other's secrets. They wished they went to the same junior high. The new friend had good news. He said he was going to be in Janine's area one Saturday. He thought it would be amazing if they could just hang out, go to the mall. Janine agreed. The new friend didn't want parents messing this up. Janine showed up alone. So did her new friend, who wasn't in junior high, wasn't nice, and wasn't a 14-year-old boy. Last year, 1 in 5 children was sexually solicited online. Help delete online predators. Call 1-800-THE-LOST or visit cybertipline.com to learn how to protect your kids' online life. A message from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the Ad Council.
Well, howdy,
Hey, thanks for coming to Big Bubba's. We got a mess of used cars. What can we do for you?
We're looking for,
something cute.
Well, here's a beauty, a 99 model with a moon roof. As a bonus, we'll throw in a leaking gas tank. You could be driving and kaboom! Adds that zing of excitement.
You got any other cars?
Wouldn't it be great if you could be warned of life's risks? If you have diabetes, you can. There's a simple blood test called A1C that can help measure your risk of complications such as heart attack. Why is it important? Because 2 out of 3 people with diabetes die from a heart attack or stroke. If your A1C is above 7, your doctor can show you how to lower it. If you have diabetes, know your risk for heart attack. Know your A1C. Ask your doctor, or for more information, go to www.diabetesa1c.org or call 1-877-TEST-A1C. Brought to you by the American Diabetes Association, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation International, and the Ad Council.
I'm Judy, and my name is Johnny. We're 10 years old and we're blind. Our dreams are to become scientists.
My name is Catherine. I'm 24 years old and I'm blind. I'm currently in law school, and one day I dream of becoming an attorney.
My name is Bill. I'm 74 years old and I've just become blind. My dream is to remain independent in my own home and not have to go to a nursing home just because I'm blind.
The National Federation of the Blind of New York has been helping blind people achieve their dreams since 1956. Help keep their dream machine running and visit blindnewyorkers.org to make a donation. You can also call them at 718-567-7821. Blind people are your neighbors and colleagues, so learn more about blindness and make your contribution today. Go to blindnewyorkers.org or call 718-567-7821. The National Federation of the Blind of New York. Today's dreams can become tomorrow's realities.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Memory lane, memory lane,
Not another act. No, Dorothy, not just another act, the act. I've taken a classic and reworked it Sophia style. Thanks for the Medicare. For Blue Cross and Blue Shield. For a hip that finally healed. Remember, on prescriptions, generic is a steal. We thank you so much. Okay, what do you think now? Don't hold back. I can take the criticism. Depressing. Awful. Stinky. Go to hell, all of you.
Times regarding seniors was my favorite show, The Golden Girls, and that's what that was from. It was a tricky choice what to put on the YouTube tonight, but that I felt like was perfect. What do you think, Jer?
You know, because we're there now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were almost, but I'm there.
I'm almost there, too. Well, I'm there. It depends on where you look for seniors. I mean, some places say 55, some say 50, like AARP. Other places you have to be 60 or 62. But Friday, I'm going to be 59.
Wow.
Yeah, and Monday, I'm going to be married 34 years.
Wow.
Now, the wild part about that is not me. Think of Larry being married to me for 34 years.
Wow. But you know, Janie, on September the 6th, Madeline, my wife, will reach 60.
Wow.
Wow. Isn't that? And to my older brothers and sisters, you know, who I'm still just a little kid. We were talking about that the other day. They make the decisions. You know, like if somebody has a funeral or something, and we have to chip in to get a flower arrangement. They pick it out and they say, Jerry, you owe me $20.
That's it.
That's it, you know, and or you know, and sometimes, what do I don't care.
Well, you know, the important thing is that life moves on, and you just have to fill your life every minute. And I know I missed the opening, so I wanted to share. Unless you told an inspirational quote, did you do that, Jer?
No, I preserved that for you.
Oh, preserved is another good thing for seniors. Anyway, the length of your life is measured, but the width and the depth are up to you. Now, do you know who said that?
No.
I did. And that's my quote.
I know that.
No, it's my quote. It's my own quote.
Whoa, say it again. Say it again.
I actually tried to trick you, because usually you go, well, you just did.
I know, I was about to say that, but I said that so many times.
I know. So I thought I'd get you. The length of your life is measured, but the width and the depth is up to you. So your days are measured. Once you get here, you never know when you're going to leave this place. And while you're here, the width, grab your arms around as many people as you can, and the depth, go deep to people. Don't just do surface, hello, hello, really mean it, and your life will be meaningful. So that's my quote for tonight.
That's very good. And you and you could add the word treasure in that. Treasured.
Yes.
Maybe you can make a poem.
I might be able to. And you know what else measures time, Jerry? When your kids get married. And last Sunday, I just want to put a shout out to Lori and Nate, and I hope you're not listening to this show. And Hawaii is more exciting than listening to your mom and Jerry and Rita, but you can catch the podcast. They're in Hawaii right now on their honeymoon. Congratulations to Lori and Nate. So we had a wonderful time last week.
You know, by coincidence, I was listening to the radio today, and I heard "Turn Around."
Oh.
You know, turn around. You were tiny. Turn around, and now you're old, and there's no one left to hold. And now we have grandchildren to hold, and I also have my stomach to hold when I'm walking. And
actually, the part of that story, the part of that song goes, "Where are you going, my little one, little one? Where are you going, my baby, my own? Turn around and you're two, turn around and you're four, turn around and you're a young one going out of the door." So I can appreciate that one, boy. Yeah. I was happy, sad, everything is bittersweet. And if you live life well, everything will be bittersweet.
But you know what I noticed that life brings, and if you look on the bright side, life will bring you things. Like I might have said this before, when I was starting to lose my vision, I always had glasses on since I was 6, but at age 19 I had to stop driving. The driving stopped, but I met my wife, or my girlfriend then. And as my vision got worse over the years, I got promoted. And it's like, something left, but there's always something. Now, I can tell you this, if you don't look for the good things, you'll never find them.
That's true.
It's like that man who was, always looking for a job or always doing something, trying to get it. When opportunity was knocking on the front door, they were in the backyard looking for 4-leaf clovers. You got to answer the door when it knocks.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't hear the knock.
Yep. So that's fabulous. And we still have Rita with us, I believe.
Rita?
Yes, I'm here. I love
wonderful.
We're just so happy, right, Janie, to have Rita with us tonight?
Yeah. Rita, I'll tell you a nice story. I have emailed many people to be on the show. Most of them I emailed 3 women writers, 2 of whom responded and were on the show. Last August, we had a wonderful author named Frances Ray, New York Times bestselling author of Trouble Don't Last Always, about a blind girl who is down on her luck and finds a family to help, and she helps a neurosurgeon who loses his vision. And through her diligence, she goes through all of his stages of denial, repression, anger, all of that, and of course at the end it becomes a love story and there's a sequel to it. But we had her on and she immediately responded and she did a great job. And then this August we have Rita Lakin on. And in between that, I've emailed some famous people. I don't want to say their whole names, but I'll just give you last names, and maybe people that are good readers and avid readers will recognize Coben and Patterson and Woods and, well, Parker, but he's no longer with us. And none of them really responded. But you did, and Francis did. And maybe next August we'll get somebody else, right, Jer?
That's right. And you know, we like the month of August, and that's when we have our best guests on it. And
yes.
And I just have to say, I don't know whether I was sharing this when you know, I always have something to learn from reading a novel. The novel you were referring to, Trouble, and I never get it right, do I, Janie? Trouble doesn't last long, whatever. You know, I was having trouble with the toothpaste tube. I never learned the trick of putting the toothpaste in my mouth and then putting the brush on that. I mean, that's something I learned. I mean, I like that. So I always keep an open eye, so to speak. May I tell you a funny story, real quick?
Sure.
I got this shirt from Florida when we went to the convention, and it's a gray shirt, and it's got a big eye on the back. And it glows in the dark, so when you're walking down the street, the light will reflect. And I always quote a line from The Odd Couple when Oscar comes out with this little monocle in his eye, and he goes to the girl and goes, "I have my eye on you." So I turned to my grandson, Jansen, who's 7 years old. I said, "Jansen," and I turned my back, "I have my eye on you." And he looked at me and he like shook his head. He goes, "3 eyes and none of them work." Out of the mouths of babes, they say.
Yes.
But getting back to the novels there, I really like Rita. I really like Ty. He tells jokes like someone we know, right, Janie?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that person, I won't mention Joe's name, I'm sure he wrote some of Hi's jokes down.
Oh yeah, 24 Karat. He's got that one already memorized.
But that was good. I really liked it, and I also appreciate your glossary of Yiddish terms. And I know Janie knows this, but when I was in kindergarten, first grade, a good friend of mine, Seymour Grossman's sons, were in my class, and at age 74, he came to work for me, and he would drive me back and forth. We lived in the same town, and he would teach me. Well, first he would teach me English. He was a graduate of the University of Scranton, Pennsylvania, and that's a Jesuit school. And he said he was a Jesuit. Everybody else in his graduated class became a priest, but he said that he just couldn't see himself as a priest, so he went to Belleville to become an English teacher. And he would teach me to, how to conjugate verbs and things, and he would tell me, it's Meshuggah, Verschimmelt, and Verdreht. But if you're Eastern European, it's Verdreht. And I learned all of this stuff, and he would say, no, you don't say it that way. It's L'chaim. And, I really appreciated it. He also did that with English, Janie. When I used to say, he's smarter than me, he would go, now, Jerry, smarter than I, because I am.
Because if you could put am, that's right.
Yes. But I just really appreciated that. And as a matter of fact, what I did was I used my book reader. I have something called I mentioned it before, Janie, the Victor Reader. And what I did was I bookmarked that part of the glossary. And I think I'd like to take it and make an MP3 file out of it, so we could sit there and I could sit there and practice.
Aw.
That's funny.
Well, it's important to learn a couple of words. I mean, that's how we grow, right? And there's a lot of different languages that we use in our own English language. Like lots of people know Meshuggah, and lots of people know chutzpah. So those are standard ones. But I remember when it was my mother-in-law's 70th birthday, I wrote her a card, and one of the things she used to say is, "Ich hab nicht kan koyach," and it means I don't have the strength. So, if you have the strength, I assume it's "Ich hab koyach," because nicht means no, right? So little by little, you learn little things, and that language makes you laugh because there's so many, you know, you got to watch out, have a tissue because you'll get wet.
That's right. And if you lived in the New York area and you grew up, you know, you're listening to the radio or to WCBS radio TV,
Right.
you Mr. G, he would always tell you, and don't forget to schlep the umbrella. So everybody knew what that meant.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's get back to the books and Rita. And you talked about your memoirs, and I was wondering about how far along are you in that, and about how much longer do you think this avid audience needs to wait to hear and listen to your memoirs on digital?
Well, actually closing in on it. So I'm on to one more chapter.
Great.
Wow.
It's taken me 2.5 years. But of course, you know, I have to find out if anybody's going to publish it or not, or if I'll end up, you know, putting it in an ebook. We'll see. It'll come out somewhere sometime.
Good.
But I must say I enjoyed your talking about the language. It's really funny listening to it.
But Rita, I know the problem because it took you 2 years. Now you got another year of memoirs to write, so it'll take you another year. And by the time you do that,
No.
Who's writing?
No, it was bad enough. I started in 1961, so I did 30 years. I really don't think I need to do 40 or 50 more. You know, so that's enough.
Oh. And do you see yourself writing after that? Anything else?
Well, I hope I'll go back to the Gladdy books.
Good. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of doing a prequel.
Oh.
In other words, Gladdy before she retired and before she went down to Florida. I thought that may be a fun thing to do, something back in the Bronx. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I first have to get this thing done out.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
You know, you're talking about language and being so much a part of our own language. When I wrote Getting Old is Très Dangereux, I could not believe how much of the book I have in French words, how many French words are part of our language. It would just, every page I seem to have had another French word I could use. And I think that's what's so marvelous about our country and our language is that we use so many people's languages as part of our own, and they become part. And it's funny to hear some of the Yiddishisms being just tossed around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Out here,
I like it when one word means a lot. Like you say one word and it has like a definition of 4 sentences. I love that. You know, I can't think of one offhand, but there's some.
Yeah, and they're also fun to try to pronounce because of that sound.
That's right.
Yes, like it took us a while to get here. But I mean, if you say "oy vey," I mean that says like a paragraph, especially the way you say it.
Yes.
You know, it has 100 words to follow.
Yes.
But Rita, you were mentioning about the Bronx. We're going to be in New York next week, and on the 22nd, I'll be on 161st and Jerome. I don't know if you're familiar with that address.
Sure.
But that's where the stadium, and we're going to Yankee Stadium. I got my Yankee, what do you call it, medal around my neck, and we're going to go to Yankee Stadium.
My dad used to take me to those games when I was a kid.
It's so nice. We've never been to the new stadium. And I used the accessible department there, Department of Accessibility, and a nice young fella helped me out, and he helped us with the tickets to get the right ones. I got one right below the wheelchair ones. It's the first row, so there's not a lot of walking, and it's right near the concession stand. And as my grandson will tell me, it's near the facility. But Rita, I have a question for you. Do you ever go out like on a tour or a book signing or like when I mean, I don't know if you come down to North Carolina, but New York
I've done a lot of them for all 7 books, but I'm pretty much not doing them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But when that memoir comes out,
little difficult to get around, but you can always talk on radio or on Skype.
There you go.
Yeah, right,
Good
Janie,
girl.
on Skype.
She can do that good now.
Yeah, now that I finally figured how to turn it on.
That's good. And Rita, can you give all of your information, like your website and things like that, where people can reach you if they want to contact you about your books?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's RitaLakin.com is my website, and RitaLakin@AOL.com is how you write to me. I get gazillions of letters from my fans, and they're really wonderful.
That's
and
great.
all of them are saying, "When's the next Gladdy book? When's the next Gladdy book?" And I can say soon. I hope soon.
And I enjoyed that. Janie, 4 minutes.
Yes, you interspersed a lot of fun stuff with some serious stuff, like the Holocaust survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And what was her name? Anya?
I can't remember. Anna, I guess. I think
Anna. And how she finally came out, and nobody was even talking to her. And also you dealt with things like discrimination. I remember I read your books a long time ago, but they're still pretty fresh. And people had difficulty with the 42-year-old worker there. They thought he was, slow. And Greta Clarkson, comments about her, she's nuts. And this one, there's a lot of discrimination and hurt. And you dealt with that in a beautiful way.
Books, on purpose, because this is all part of life. A part of life is the bad things that happen and the good things that happen. And the object of the game, as we all agree on, is to be joyful and enjoy our everyday.
It's beautiful. Well, you're not going to believe this, Rita, but we have 2.5 minutes left to this hour. Can you believe it?
It goes pretty fast.
It goes pretty fast. Well, I personally want to thank you for being a guest on the show. I'm sorry I wasn't on Skype, but listening to you and listening to your books have just added a lot to my life, and I'm just grateful that you agreed to be on the show with us and share a lot about who you are and a lot about your characters and why you wrote and why you continue to write and how writing is meaningful to you. And I just really want to thank you from our listeners and our viewers.
Janie, anytime. There's always time to help other people in life. That's a big part.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Jerry, you want to say goodbye to Rita?
Rita, I just wanted to thank you and just say l'chaim.
L'chaim to you too.
I got to clean my screen now.
On your books and your memoirs, and God willing, we'll be able to read those too.
That are coming up, and all of those.
Very good. Okay, I'll be emailing you, I'm sure. And I thank you again.
Darling.
And for the rest of you that are listening, we're going to be signing off momentarily. Our next show will be on September 11th, which is an infamous day in our life. And hopefully you'll tune in that night. Well, I'm sure we'll have some inspirational YouTube videos for you. And we do have a wonderful guest. And until then, I hope you stay well. Enjoy the beautiful rest of the summer. Jared, say goodnight.
I'm saying goodnight, and look out, Jersey. Here we come.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see you and give you a big hug. I hope my arms fit around that. Ooh. Sorry, folks. In that case, always look on the bright side, and we'll see you next month. And always be happy. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Good night.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life.
All words, ideas, and content expressed on The Bright Side are solely those of Jane Degenshine and Jerry Marino,
and not necessarily those of the National Federation of the Blind, the Northeast New Jersey chapter, or WTOE Internet Radio Network.
If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. Hey, always look on the bright side of life. Come on, guys, cheer up. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Worst things happen at sea, you know. Always look on the bright side of life. I mean, what you gonna lose? You know, you come from nothing, you're going back to nothing. What have you lost? Always look on the bright side of life.
Hi, this is Joe Ruffalo of WTOE Radio. If you are a resident in New Jersey and would like to join one of our chapters or have some more information about our chapters, please contact me at 973-743-0075 or email me at nfbnj@yahoo.com.
Advertise your events on internet radio and podcasts free. Need to advertise your club or organization's next event? Whether it's one announcement or different ones, weekly or monthly, now you can.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to an unfortunate problem with our transmitter, we're going to have to reset it, which means we will temporarily go offline and come back within 1 to 2 minutes. You'll have to refresh your browser to continue watching the show, or you can go to YouTube from where you're listening now and watch uninterrupted. We apologize for the inconvenience. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Keith Zalley, your announcer here at WTOE Radio. Of course, you know we broadcast live on throughoureyes.org, but did you know we simulcast on Facebook, Ustream.tv, as well as all of our shows' host websites? And now you don't have to be stuck trying to catch your favorite show on your computer. You can listen or even watch our shows live right on your smartphone or iPad. During broadcast nights, just point your phone or iPad browser to our mobile site, m.throughoureyes.org, and click on the Listen or Watch Live link. WTOE also offers many smart apps for your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, Windows Mobile, or Nokia phones, iPads too, all for free. Visit our main site, www.throughoureyes.org/appstores.html, and download your free app today.
Hi, I'm Keith Zalley, your announcer here at throughoureyes.org. Thanks for tuning in to WTOE Radio's live broadcast. Our recording session will start shortly. While you are waiting, I'd like to ask all our listeners who have not yet registered at Through Our Eyes to consider doing so. Registering helps us ascertain whom our listeners are, where they come from, if they are blind or visually impaired, as well as other important information which helps us guide us in providing programming that will meet our visitors' needs. I urge all our listeners to register today. It's free and only takes a minute to complete the process. Please read our privacy policy so you can be assured that the information you provide stays with us and only us, and you'll never get any unwanted emails. Well, we're almost ready to begin. Since what you are about to listen to is live, after each recording of the show, you'll hear approximately 15 minutes of music. This is the time we are contacting our next guest for the next show. When the show starts, you'll hear it in its entirety. Our recording sessions usually comprise 3 separate shows, each about 15 to 20 minutes in length, with approximately 15 minutes between each session. So once again, thanks for listening to WTOE Radio Live. Our recording session will start momentarily. I'm Keith Zalley. Keith Zalley, your announcer here at throughoureyes.org. Thanks for tuning in to WTOE Radio's live broadcast. Our recording session will start shortly. While you are waiting, I'd like to ask all our listeners who have not yet registered at Through Our Eyes to consider doing so. Registering helps us ascertain whom our listeners are, where they come from, if they are blind or visually impaired, as well as other important information which helps us guide us in providing programming that will meet our visitors' needs. I urge all our listeners to register today. It's free and only takes a minute to complete the process. Please read our privacy policy so you can be assured that the information you provide stays with us and only us, and you'll never get any unwanted emails. Since what you are about to listen to is live, after each recording of the show, you'll hear approximately 15 minutes of music. This is the time we are contacting our next guest for the next show. When the show starts, you'll hear it in its entirety. Our recording sessions usually comprise 3 separate shows, each about 15 to 20 minutes in length, with approximately 15 minutes between each session. So once again, thanks for listening to WTOE Radio Live.